how it affects commercial buildings, and what that looks like in the marketplace. You are going to learn from a property owner and agent's perspective how to untap some extra value, use the interest rates to your advantage when selling and purchasing real estate, and how this flushes out all the fugazis, all the wankers out there. Because when the debt rates increase, smart capital gets to play, and this is where they survive and thrive on those great markets. Lock in today. Episode 11, The Market Shift Playbook. Today, we're unpacking what we're looking at for surviving, adapting, and winning with using capital in the marketplace for what we have. Because when money gets expensive, deals disappear. Only the smart operators, they leverage it and they win. What does that mean? We're going to untap what that looks like and how you can execute that in the marketplace today. So remember, core principles, how it's going to condition what type of use and asset class is the most favorable, where you can see opportunities, and if you own a property, how you can turn nothing into something, or untap those dirt to dollars. That's what we're going to talk about. So understanding the drivers, the impacts of real estate, all right here and all right behind me. The four big ones: affordability, big one. Absolutely something we have to talk about. It's buzzwords. Everything in the marketplace is talking affordability. Investment returns. What does that look like? Why place money in real estate? It's the safest asset. A tangible means it's a brick and mortar. You can physically go to an asset. Okay. What that looks like. Your property valuations. How does this affect? What is the deal? What is the deal with debt rates? That's what I'm talking about today. If the debt goes higher, what happens to your investment property? Boom. That's what we got. Market dynamics. How does that influx what your selling position could be versus what your buying position could be? Is it a big buyer demand, or is it a big seller demand? And you've got to overbid and you've got to come hot and heavy with limited terms and conditions. That's what it looks like. So first, interest rates are the fundamental mechanism through which monetary policies influence the real estate market. They impact nearly every facet of real estate transactions, from initial buyer affordability to investor returns and overall market valuations. Why does that impact us? Because in commercial real estate, it's all about leverage. And if you're leveraging an asset, you know what the debt rates are, then you can use it to your advantage. So affordability, when you have a higher interest debt rate, that is straight out the gate going to increase your mortgage payment. Let's just use very realistic numbers. You're buying an asset. All of a sudden, it's $5,000 a month in a monthly mortgage payment. Now, the debt rates rise, right? That's maybe 5%, let's call it. Debt rates go to 6 or 7. What does that mortgage payment look like? Now it's $6, $7, $8,000 a month. Now, if the cash flow on the property doesn't support it, which is what we'll get into on the next slide, the DSCR, the debt service coverage ratio, then the bank's going to start discounting it. Why? Because they take a vacancy factor just right out the gate, 3, 5%, multifamilies even higher, 5 or 10% on commercial, industrial, retail, office assets. So it starts shrinking the income. Then all of a sudden, you have to pay the mortgage. So now if it increases, and let's say that property produced $8,000 a month, and at $5,000, you're making $3,000 a month. But the interest rates shift. Now they're at 6.5 or 7, and that 8,000 is now at 7,500 in debt. That's going to be a big difference. Now all of a sudden you went from profitability of 3,000 to now $500. It's a huge swing. It affects the investment return, right? Because if you're selling in that market, obviously the asset's worth less because you got more expenses, less income, less profit on top. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about demand and affordability. The returns. Interest rates dictate the cost of capital. If I'm buying a multifamily, a 10 or 20 unit building, and let's say that $10,000 a month is what it actually costs me for capital and all the operating expenses, $10,000 a month is what we receive. It means it's a wash. Now, if you put a down payment of, let's say, $400,000 for that, you're not getting any return on your actual passive income capital, right? Or active income, I should say. Now, you do get land appreciation. You do get tax benefits, but you don't get that other side. So a huge thing to think about is, especially in that field, because if you're looking at it and it dictates the cost of capital, if you're selling a property and it's not producing enough capital to support paying the debt and the operating expenses, you're not selling an asset. It's not happening unless that price per square foot or dirt to dollars valuation is skyrocketed. Property valuations. So the present value of the future cash flows, that's huge, because here's the thing. If you're buying on a cap rate and that cap rate's really low, but you know that you can increase the units two, three, 500, $1,000 each, well, then you know your future cash flow is going to be significantly increased. So if I take it and all of a sudden I'm getting $10,000 a month from the property, and I increase all 10 of those units, $1,000 a month, to $1,500 a month, I just created an extra $5,000 a month of income. So 15,000 versus the 10,000. Now, what does that mean? It means that you increase your cash flow, you made the value of the asset much higher, and your net profits are significantly higher. So what does that mean? Tradability is very easy. It's very easy to sell. It's very easy to get heat locks or get loans on it, and you're very healthy. So property valuations affect, especially when you got rental and cash flow. Market dynamics, they influence everything. So why does that matter? Because new construction housing, especially in New Jersey, is one of the biggest drivers. We're behind in plans. COVID destroyed all the municipalities. We have to go on Zoom meetings. We have to start doing things non-consistent with what it takes to get plans approved. Now, not to mention, this is really choppy waters that we're in northern New Jersey or New Jersey in general. So imagine now choppy waters with increased complexity. It stalled a lot of these years of plans. So now we're underhoused and we need housing. So new construction plans where dynamics change. Now, what does that mean? If your construction goes from 5 or 6% to 8%, means that the job got so much more expensive. Now, if your materials, wood, concrete, windows, everything went up 10, 20, 30%, the builder's got to make up for that. And what does it mean for the marketplace? A higher price. So if we can bring material costs and all of the other servicing costs of the builds down, then we can have a little bit better of affordability within the marketplace and the dynamics of it start changing. And what we've also seen is an attraction towards mid-level markets. We've had a lot of luxury builds. Everyone maximizes the square footage of the lot, right? Well, other areas you can do a lower dense, instead of multifamilies, you can do townhousing, having fee simple lots that are engaging for the public because they're not as large as those other ones. People don't require that. They're living more differently these days than they were in the past. So it provides product, and that's what we're talking about here. Make sure you understand the drivers of where commercial real estate valuations are. You'll be way ahead of the curve on top of being a property owner or being a broker in this marketplace. Right? Always remember, we co-broke with agents here at ERG. We focus on $1 to $10 million assets in northern New Jersey, all of New Jersey, from commercial developments, multifamily developments, townhouse developments, to industrial properties, office, retail, you name it right there. That's what we focus on. So if we can co-broke with you and you're an agent, let us know. If you're a property owner, reach out to us. We're happy to help you out. We'll give you our 3-tier Gold Star valuation series featuring the income and expense, featuring your price per square foot of comps, and your dirt to dollars, untapping value that you never knew you had. So check in with us if you need. Moving ahead, let's talk about buyer underwriting today and what that looks like for debt capital. So how buyers are assessing deals and what they're looking at as the driving forces. That's what we're going to focus on. There's 5 different measures focusing on your cash flow and DSCR, your conservative LTV, your enhanced due diligence, the risk mitigation strategies, and your value adjustments. Let's unpack focus on cash flow and DSCR. So cash flow is key. As I just mentioned, the building doesn't cash flow, which means all the expenses here, plus the capital debt that you brought right here with the income. The income has to be greater than this. If it's not, dead deal, unless you're valuing it in another direction, which is on a price per square foot or dirt to dollars, because then you can justify. So look at it. Now, if you're buying a cash flowing building, that means that the DSCR, what the bank or a lender looks at, is typically around 1.25%. Means that about 25% extra on the building to support the loan. So when you see that and it's below a 1.25, what are you thinking? The lender's going to lend you less money, which means you've got to bring more money to the table as a down payment. So that could increase. Minimum in our area is typically 25%. But if the DSCR doesn't click on 125, you've got to increase your down payment to maybe 30, 35%, 40%, 50%. So that's where it really matters most. Moving ahead to conservative LTVs. Guys, when the debt rates get conservative, people do and the banks do too. So they're going to take it. They may increase it from 1.25 to 1.3 or 1.35 for the debt coverage service ratio, big time. Or maybe in better markets, they loosen it to 1.1 or 1.15. How does that matter? Well, it matters on your down payment. If you're just thinking, hey, for every $1 million asset, I can put $250,000 down and just be fine, it's not the truth. So make sure that you check with loan terms and get a term sheet for a building or something within that range, expenses, income, so that you can be accurate. Moving ahead to enhanced due diligence. Guys, deeper scrutiny. We're getting a lot of deals. They're getting squeezed at the end of these deals. Sellers are going to have to make choices at the end, even if it's unreasonable or unfair. Buyers too. We're seeing that same thing happen. Be prepared. If you're going to go into additional provisions that aren't your comfort zone, maybe this isn't the arena for you. You shouldn't be selling or buying or doing anything here. But if you get a knowledgeable expert broker that's done this a lot, like ourselves and our ERG team, you can feel rest assured and confident that you're going to get it to a closing table. Because what I've seen a lot of problems in this marketplace is that people get into a transaction only to jump out of it because they didn't scrub the buyer or the seller enough to make sure that these terms were met. Because the devil's in the details. And that I learned from Jason Trembecki. It's all about that. So you have to know and scrutinize what that means before anything. And that means getting your due diligence right. Moving ahead with risk mitigation strategies.
Let's make a quick adjustment.
Yep.
Can you move a little more that way? Left?
Yep.
Just a little, yeah, all the way to the end. Because I just want them to be able to see, like, and then go all the way left here. Just because I want them to be able to see what it says up there. And then you can move a little more to your right. And that's good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow state.
You're good on that. Happy to have some improvements.
Yep.
This is us on the live, guys. Giving it right to you. Trying to enhance your knowledge, make you better in this marketplace, sell for more, take care of your families, do everything the way that it should be done, accurate. All right, moving ahead. Risk mitigation strategies. We just talked about that. Valuation adjustments. So think very simply, like I'm talking to my daughter, Blake, 10 years old. If the debt goes up, the value of the asset goes down. If the debt goes down, i.e. it takes 4 or 5% versus 7 or 8, then the value of the asset goes up, right? So when do you want to sell? Typically when debt rates are lower, but just like stocks, you're never going to time it perfect. So get out of your head that you're going to maximize everything. Get as much as you could, get out. Use the advantage of real estate, 1031 exchanges and other formats to be able to use it to your advantage and then move on. And that's what we've seen the most successful people do year in and year out, our clientele, the investment groups, and everyone alike. So moving forward, beyond price per square foot, guys, beyond price per square foot. Why price per square foot is an insufficient metric for valuation? Why? Because when we talk about income and expense, we have to know that price per square foot is not solely the one. That's why we at ERG and myself do all three. We do the income and expense, the property valuation for price per square foot, and the dirt to dollars. So don't just use a price per square foot. It's not the right metric. You've got to compare the other two, because if not, you're only seeing one side of the elephant. And if I told you, hey, look at an elephant and I'm looking at it from the front like you, somebody else is looking at it from the back, you think that we got different vantage points? What about the person from the side? Now, we all see the same thing, but we're seeing it very differently. And that's what we need to describe, which is seeing every angle and then making the right choice and guide property owners to do that. Moving forward, strategic pricing adjustments. This is where negative changes effectively without succumbing to panic. When we see market trends and you see everything in the headlines, buzzwords, think strategy, think debt, and think understanding of where that makes you right now versus where you are in the future. If you do, you're always going to have an understanding, and you can be like a palm tree dancing in the rain and the storm. It's blowing everywhere, right? You ever seen it? They bend all the way down, these palm trees, and it's amazing to see. And what I turned is storms into beauty, because I see a resilient palm tree standing there and withstanding it, just like anybody in these commercial markets that have to do the same thing. So lock in and make sure that you do, because you'll get through it just like a palm tree does. Moving ahead, if your property doesn't cash flow, it doesn't close. Guys, I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand, if it's not cash flowing, it's not closing. That's what we're talking about, because price per square foot, if it's not matching your seller needs, that's where you got to get some income going in and making an income and expense valuation. So simple truth is, make sure it's cash flowing. If you're selling an asset, that's cash flowing. not, the price per square foot could be lower than what you anticipate. Oftentimes, it's not what seller wants. Now, if the building's falling down, then the dirt to dollars valuation is where you can cover that, make sure that you maximize. So understand, a great broker in this marketplace with commercial experience and a proven track record will know the dirt to dollars. They can do it in a reasonable amount of time and untap that valuation for you that you deserve as a property owner. If not, and you're an agent, let's say you're a residential agent in a marketplace and you don't know where to start and what to do, reach out to my team and I. We'll co-broker you, lock that in and make sure that we tap into it. Okay, we also have our in-house land development with Trelia. That could be our first buyer. This is a way that we can enhance control of the deal for you, the sellers, and everyone alike, from trusted sources that have been proven and done this many a times before. We want to help out, and that's why we're doing these lives, coming here right for that. Okay, now check out more at theredzoneagency.com. That's where we're locked in. Adam, I'm going to open up the floor. Let's talk a little bit. What did you have in mind question-wise?
So how do you navigate, like, typically when you're going through like a kind of rough season for real estate, how do you keep your like composure, and kind of stay calm and you know, like, that this is something that's normal and you're actually supposed to be in seasons like this, so.
Well, seasonality in real estate is kind of like anything. It's not as bad as the New Jersey Shore, where all of a sudden in the wintertime it's a ghost, and then in the summertime it's completely packed. Real estate, if you focus on lead generation, you do the three things Gary focuses on and tells us constantly, which is leads, listings, leverage. You typically can weather the storm. Understanding how many listings you have as an agent is going to be your top priority because you leverage every listing to another buyer. So if you get 10 listings, typically you'll get 10 buyers. And that's a great lever to use and focus on, especially with us when we have to weather storms. Outside of that, when we're talking capital markets pertaining to today's episode, what you're going to have to understand is that adjustable rate mortgages may be the death of people. When these things jump, they jump drastically. So if you can get fixed loans through the course of time, you can strategize when you get out, how you refinance, what that looks like. And that's a better path from what research has shown in my experience.
Is that all right?
That's everything. We're short, we're concise, we're compact. We want to bring it to you, get it through, get it done, make sure that these episodes are focused and impactful. That's what we have focused on today. We're going to lock in next week, every week, 10 a.m., Wednesdays. We're going live, bringing you guys impactful 30-minute educational episodes that then open up to the floor. We have questions in the chat. Feel free to reach out, lock in with us. We're going to make you better. We're going to enhance your knowledge. We're going to make you sell for properties more money in a quicker amount of time and do it twice as impactful. That's my commitment and my promise to you guys. Thanks for locking in with Real Estate Rewired. Look forward to next week. Make it an awesome week.